In this comparative study, I will explore the transnational embodiment of French-inspired cinema. I will be focusing on the similarities and differences between the Cinema du Look influenced film Amelie, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet in 2001, and Woody Allen's 2011 film Midnight in Paris. Amelie's plot revolves around the lonely perspective of a local Parisian woman in the working class. After she hears of the tragic death of Princess Diana, Amelie drops a plastic perfume stopper which dislodges a wall tile and accidentally reveals an old metal box of childhood memorabilia, hidden by a boy who lived in her apartment decades earlier. Amelie resolves to track down the boy and return the box to him. She promises herself that if it makes him happy, she will devote her life to bringing happiness to others and herself. She secretly executes complex schemes that affect the lives of those around her, and she begins projecting her loneliness onto the image. Midnight in Paris is about an American screenwriter, Gil, who vacates to Paris with his fiancée, Inez, and her parents. Gil loves Paris and is even considering moving there. However, Inez doesn't particularly like the city at all. One night, Gil decides to wander the streets of Paris alone. At midnight, an old car with 1920s looking passengers tells him to get in. He later meets Ernest Hemingway, Scott Fitzgerald, and Josephine Baker. After discussing writing, Hemingway offers to show Gil's novel to Gertrude Stein. As Gil exits the building to fetch his manuscript from his hotel, he finds he has returned to 2011. Confused and intrigued, Gil wants to share with Inez his time travel experience, so he takes her to the alleyway. However, her arrogance and uptight personality doesn't really appeal to Gil at all, so he doesn't project. Over his vacation, he routinely continues to travel back in time. One night, out with Hemingway, he meets Pablo Picasso's lover, Adriana, and they are instantly attracted to each other. Although both films are set in Paris, they each depict the city in their own cultural light. Amelie is set in the year 1997, while Midnight in Paris portrays Paris in present day, with the exception of traveling back in time. Because Amelie herself is a local, she is consumed by the working class culture she lives in. Gil, on the other hand, an American tourist, is captivated by the rich, prominent historical and cultural Parisian lifestyle. Because of the character differences and their personal take of the city, Midnight in Paris is a cinematically romanticized film that embellishes in the beauty of the city from Gil's perspective. Although the director Woody Allen is well known for his international, often European-influenced films, he is, like Gil, not intending to capture the grittier, darker sides of the city. The screenwriters of Amelie, however, are in fact French and have a greater understanding of Paris from a cultural standpoint. Amelie depicts Paris aside from its tourism phenomenons. The environment consists of backstreet cafes and bistros occupied by diverse characters to portray the depth of French locals. By establishing a realistic perception of the city, the audience is able to see Paris, like any other city, dangerous and imperfect, drawing away from the romantic idea that Paris is a magical city of love. Midnight in Paris, although embodies the enrichment of French culture as well as one of the most historically luxurious cities of all time. Midnight in Paris is filmed with an ambience of warm red and orange tones using pastel coloration. The technique flatters the weather and limits the camera movements. Although it is a fantastical film, Allen puts more emphasis on the romantic and realistic elements of the film. The lighting in this film create contrast between day and night. By day, high-key lighting is used to make everything light and soft. But at night, even though it is dark, the lights seem brighter and more dazzling. The low-key lighting at night creates an uncertainty because Gil doesn't know if it's real or not. The contrast is used to help separate the present during the day and the past during the night. Gil transports through time during the night, and the changing light helps to distinguish this transition. Whenever Gil is walking through Paris and there is not any dialogue, the camera framing uses a long shot. While Gil is walking, the audience gets a view of everything around him. Most of the scenes in the film use eye-level camera angles and medium-shot camera framing so that the audience sees the same perspective as the characters. Keeping the camera angles and framing simple helps the reader to become a part of the illusion because it feels more natural. Amelie's cinematography is aimed to capture an aura of fantasy. Yellows and greens and browns are the colors used mostly to create the same effect, which also give it a very warm feel. Eye level shots are very minimal, to reflect the dramatic feel of the movie. Mostly overhead shots, low angle shots, and face close ups are visible throughout the film. Things like perspective, framing, and the motion of the movie have been played with a lot to give such wonderful effect to the film. The movie would make you also wonder about the ironies of life, just like a small child. Both films use warm tones and contrasts. It's like how Amelie is a very mischievous and lonely character, Gil similarly feels as if he is traveling on his own. Both films are very fantastical, both depicting the pursuit of happiness in or without other people, I guess. More information to be continued.